Hey everyone, welcome to the webinar. I'm Emily. I'm a agent product manager here at Conduit, and today we're going to go over how to boost revenue, and create upsell workflows. So, at Conduit, we have really been pushing for workflows, especially workflows that are able to incorporate directly with your business and creating upsell workflows. So to start, I'm just going to share my screen and then we can get started with some workflows. Okay, so to start, I'm on the Conduit AI home screen. I'm going to click sign in. Of course, throughout the webinar, feel free to ask questions in chat and I'll be able to answer them. I'm going to go into my workflow templates workspace, and this is where I'm actually going to start looking at an example workflow that we made for another customer, and then we can go into how we make customizations to actually build this out. Going to chat. Okay. So to navigate to workflows, you want to go to workflows, and then here you can see all the workflows that I've made. For this specific one, I'm going to actually go into travel protection upsell. For a travel protection upsell, what this is going to do is, okay, looks like that wasn't saved. What this will do is if you are a short-term rental company, sometimes you want to sell like insurance, add-ons, or like extra services with your property. In this case, this customer wanted to sell a travel protection insurance before the guest actually checks in and before their stay. So how this workflow is going to work is when a new reservation comes in, we want to make sure that it's for the guest inbox. We want to filter for confirmed reservations. So this is reservation status is equal to confirmed. How I was able to make this is I'm going to go into reservation and click reservation status. We have a lot of different fields that you can choose from. For instance, if they are booking within a specific window, or if they are booking like from a specific channel. For instance, if you have different policies for Airbnb versus if like your other PMS systems, you can filter by this channel. But for this one, I want to make sure that my reservation status is confirmed. The reason behind this is if you didn't have this filter, for instance, if I just delete this filter, this workflow would send to all guests, even guests who have stayed like at the property years in the past. So we want to make sure that we have this filter in place. You're going to make sure that you click save, and then you could, of course, enter in a filter description. So confirmed reservations. And then now we're going to go into like one of my favorite nodes, which is extract AI info. What this does, or how you can think of extract AI info, is you can think of it as a way for the AI to be able to access like information that's associated to the reservation. Um, so for instance, here, we want to give the AI instructions. So you are a representative from Rent Key. Your goal is to sell travel insurance to customers if they make a reservation and their check-in is more than 30 days in advance. For this specific use case, the travel insurance could only be sold like I think like 14 days or 30 days in advance, which is why we want to make sure that the reservation check-in date is 30 days in advance. The check-in and arrival date, we are going to actually make a variable. So to add a variable, you just want to click add variable. Why can't I add the variable? And click save. Oh, okay. I couldn't add the variable because these weren't connected. So now when I go in and click, you can either click backslash or you can do add a variable, do add a variable, and scroll down until I find my check-in date. Okay, the check-in arrival date is I'm going to put in the variable because each arrival date is going to change depending on the specific guest that we're talking to. And then now we're going to ask the AI, is this check-in arrival date more than 30 days from when this reservation is made? So because we have extract AI info, we will have access to when the reservation was made, like through your specific PMS system or whatever through here. That didn't save. And then from there, we want to capture the response as a Boolean or like as a variable reservation created more than 30 days before check-in. I'm going to just add back in these variables. Arrival date. Everything in here can be customized. So if you, for instance, want to sell like it 14 days in advance, you can customize it here as well. Our LLMs are pretty good about like being able to decipher through the instructions. So as long as your instructions are clear, then you'll be able to use this workflow. When I made this variable reservation created more than 30 days before check-in, we're going to go actually into extracted variables. And then here I have the exact name for name of the field. You want to make sure that the name that you reference in the instructions match the extracted variables here. And then here we are going to like provide the description. So guest made the reservation more than 30 days before the check-in date. And we can say this as a Boolean. So the different types of variables that we have are strings. So these are things like names, like addresses. You can also like if you like want a specific response or want a summary, you can do strings. But I'm going to use a Boolean, and I use the Boolean because I'm going to make a branch later on in the workflow, and I feel like this is like the best way to capture true, false, or like yes, no questions. I'm going to click save. And talking about that specific branch variable, we have this this branch called is the reservation more than 30 days before the check-in. So to make this, I actually went into extracted info, referencing this node that I made right here, clicking that, and then you're going to scroll over and make sure that it's set to true. So was the reservation created more than 30 days before check-in? True. If I had this as false, then this would mean that the reservation was created less than 30 days before check-in. You can click true or false, or you can also just add the variable, but since we already have this, I'm just going to click true. When it follows this true path, it's going to have this agent injection. The false path, we're going to do nothing. This is because if the reservation is less than 30 days, we can't sell the insurance. We're going to have agent injection. How an agent injection works is an agent is added to that specific conversation. So if there's already an existing conversation between Conduit or your system and then the guest, the agent is going to be added into this conversation and be able to carry out a task. Right here is where I have my actual task. So I just gave instructions. So the AI's goal is to have the guest purchase travel insurance for their stay. The benefits of the travel insurance is this is just what the customer wanted us to say. From here, we're going to ask, like, did the guest express interest in purchasing travel protection? If they were interested, this is where we're like referencing the variable again. So we have this variable called accepted travel insurance. And that information is here. So accepted travel insurance, we have the description down here below. These are just additional instructions that you can give to your AI, for instance, emphasizing that without the travel protection, their investment is at risk, and also just providing more information about that, about like the plan. So we have like the standard plan, which was must be purchased 30 days before. That's why I have this branch. We also have a cancel for any reason plan. So that one is sent 14 days before booking, and then 30 days more before, or 30 days before booking. We don't want the AI to answer any specific questions about the policy, but they can go to this website and look it up there. This is just like what we wanted for this specific workflow. So we add the link. Again, this can all be customized. So the way that you write your instructions for your AI is how it's going to be actually carried out. So if you have like bad instructions, for instance, you just provide the link, like you deleted everything here except for the link, that's just what the AI is going to respond. So it's really important to make sure that you have good instructions for your AI, and you can also reference this as well to write good instructions for your AI. For the variable, we have accepted travel insurance as the name of the field, as well as the description. So again, we used a Boolean because I'm going to use a branch later. I'm using the true and false values. And then we also have a follow-up. So because we want to actually have the guest like accept this upsell and accept this like buy the travel insurance, we want to follow up 5 days after we sent the initial message, but we won't actually want this to end after 14 days. And we chose the 14 days because if you look in the instructions, the cancel for any reason plan is over 14 days before the actual booking date. Even though we gave the instructions, we can also just optionally write the first message. So you can click send first message. And then here I just drafted like exactly what I wanted the AI to say to the guest. So saying hi, using the variable again. So I'm going to use the contact's first name, and I provide like the plan option as well as like what the actual reason for us contacting them is about. And we still have like the URL because the URL is where they're actually going to be able to add the travel protection. Other customizations that we can do for this are like if you want to reference like the specific listing where they're staying. So if you want to reference where they're actually staying, you can say like, thank you for staying at adding the variable. You can scroll down and then we actually have the listing name or the listing internal name. So I would just add that here. And this is just so that you can make it more personalized and tailor to that specific guest. So thank you for staying at listing internal name or like whatever the property name is. You can also like change this URL. Like you can make it so that if it's like specific to like a listing, you can do like listing or like reservation ID. So let me actually find the reservation ID. Yeah, reservation ID. And this is like helpful for if the URL is like specific for like a specific guest. So the guest URL is tied to the reservation ID. Instead of sending this generic URL that like anyone can click onto, this one will send exactly the URL that is referenced to their specific reservation ID. Additionally, we can add a fallback channel. What a fallback channel does is in the event that there's no existing conversation between like the guest and like you, like this is the first time they're receiving a message, the AI right here doesn't know how like it should be injected into. So you can just select like a different channel. So we can do email, you can select your provider, SMS. You can select any of your phone numbers as well, just making sure that it's able to like be sent through text or also WhatsApp. I don't have my WhatsApp connected, but we usually recommend sending through email because in order to book, you have to book through your email. And then you can either copy and paste. You can either copy, paste the same message, adding the subject line. So travel protection for your upcoming stay. And you can say who it's from. Usually I like to name my AI agents Alex just because it's gender neutral and they think that it's a person. So Alex from Conduit or Siesta. You can add a signature or you can also add attachments because with Conduit, you're able to send photos or like PDFs through the attachment. Okay, looks like I got a question. Okay, how can we test workflows before we deploy? Okay, that's a great question. I'll finish this workflow, then I can go into that. So my email, okay. If you ever see this little like notification right here, it just means that there's something wrong. Usually your channel isn't connected, so you can click save. Now this works. Success failed. Okay, did the guest accept travel insurance? So here in this node, when I made this variable called when I made this variable called extracting information accepted travel insurance, what this does is this makes a variable that can be used later on in the workflow. So I use that later on in this branch. So when the guest has accepted the travel insurance is equal to true, again, following the same branch that we did previously, we're going to send a URL mess, or we're going to send the URL to the actual guest so that they can actually book. Because what this will do is this AI only tells you the information and like why they should book. It can't actually book it for the guests. That's something that they'll have to do, and that's just because it involves payment. So we want to send the guests this exact URL so that they can complete their purchase because they indicated that they wanted to move forward with purchasing the travel insurance plan. Again, you can also enable the fallback channel, just like what we did previously with agent injection. I'm going to click save and then publish. This workflow is ready to be used right now. So we'll add this workflow to workflow templates probably later on in the week or next week. But now hi Rod. Okay, so how do we test workflows before we deploy? Okay, so that's a great question. There's two ways that you can deploy workflows and actually be able to use them. So I'm gonna click save. What you can do first is run manually. What this will do is this will send this will basically trigger this node. So this will pretend that a new reservation is created, and then you'll go through all of these branches. So if it's a simple workflow, such as like, oh, I want to send like one specific message, or if it's a workflow that like you're like sending a notification like via Slack or via like email, you can do that. So all you would have to do is just do like run manually, add a contact. I'm going to select like Will Smith. You're going to click run. And then what this will do is under runs, you can actually see that like you can see like this was manually triggered. To actually look at workflow runs, you're going to click these three dots. You're going to click go to run. And then here I can see, okay, the run, even though the workflow ran, it was stopped because of this filter. The reason why it was filtered is because the condition is modified, but we actually want the condition to be confirmed. So this usually happens for when you run manually because yeah, this usually happens when you run manually because maybe you have filters that are like blocking, like why, like that are blocking this. So like for my guest Will Smith, he had a modified reservation, but we want him to be a confirmed reservation. So what I would actually recommend doing is you can make like a fake reservation like within your PMS system. For instance, we use Hostaway. And what I would usually do is I go into my inbox and I have like a fake reservation for like John Smith. So John Smith is like my fake reservation. What I'll do is I'll make this reservation, go to my workflow, and then I can either run this manually, but if I want to actually test like when a new reservation comes in, this is where I'm like making the fake reservation. And then I'll see like how this workflow will work. And then going into runs, seeing, go to runs, and then seeing, okay, where does it stop? Here I see that it stopped at confirmed reservation because modified is equal to confirm. And then if it doesn't fit these conditions, it's just not going to work. So like yeah, for instance, like the Will Smith run that I'm like currently in, it's not going to work here because the condition is modified when the condition should be confirmed. Additionally here, the like looking at the node, I'll look at the node here. Looking at the node, the reservation is less than 30 days before the check-in. So this will also like stop the workflow from running. So I would just recommend like making like a fake reservation using like your personal email, not your work email. And then from there, you can actually test to see this workflow and how it works with like the filters. You can also just remove the filters and then add them back after you're done testing, just so you can see like what is the actual message being sent via agent injection, what is the actual send AI message. Yes. So yeah, that's usually what I do. Like for instance, like when I'm making workflows for workflow templates, I have like a bunch of different like fake guest names. So I have like John Smith, like this is how I was testing like the late checkout. You can see that it was sent by workflow. So what I would do is I use my personal email. I say like, hey, like, can I have a late checkout? And I want to see, okay, this is what the workflow is actually going to be sending. Or, and I just constantly test until I get either the response that I want, or I constantly test until like I actually get a notification. But yeah, I don't know, I like making the fake guest account and like pretending to be a guest. Okay. Oh, I should read the question. So from Emre, so the fallback channel will only be used for cases where there's no conversation yet. It means not in cases where I want to send a message via WhatsApp through workflows and the guest does not have WhatsApp on their number. Yeah, it's correct for the first one is correct. So for instance, let's say like I have Will Smith. So Will Smith just made a reservation and there hasn't been like any prior communication between Will Smith and Conduit or Will Smith and like your PMS system. Going back to travel protection sales. Um, if the fallback channel is like disabled, then this message isn't going to be sent because the AI doesn't know like, oh, how should I send this message? Like, should I send it via email? Should I send it via SMS? So you just want to make sure that this is enabled so that in the event that there is no existing communication, sometimes there are like, sometimes I guess will like start the conversation first. Um, and then you won't need this fallback channel, but we just like recommend adding the fallback channel as a precaution or as like a safety in case like someone doesn't already have an existing conversation. If you see like a workflow error, or if you see, for instances in run, if it's failed, let me see if I have one where it's failed. But yeah, if you go into like, let me find a failed one. If you go into runs and you see failed and you get like a notification that's like this workflow wasn't able to be sent, for instance here, like this error. If you get an error for usually send last message channel, the error is usually there was no last message channel or like there was no existing channel, and to resolve this you would just add a fallback channel. Okay, any other questions either about testing or like the specific travel protection upsell workflow? Okay. Um, we can go now into like how I would, um, we can go into now some customizations or how I would actually make this like a better workflow. So I'm gonna actually go into how can the AI call? How about AI? That's a great question. That's actually what I was going to do. So Rod Ross just asked, what about the AI call? When will be good to use? So that's a great question. And that's exactly what I was going to go into. So um, I'm going to make a procedure. So what if I have a guest that says, hey, like, I want to add like a canoe rental onto my, like, I want to add a canoe rental, or I want to add a, like, pick me up at the airport or any other type of upsell services. That wouldn't be triggered in this travel protection upsell workflow because this workflow is only going to be triggered when a new reservation comes in. So what we actually want to do is make a procedure in conjunction with the workflow to make so that it's one able to answer the guest's like request and actually schedule that. So I'm going to go into Agent Hub, procedures, create procedure. I'm just going to write, yes, this is all of our webinars are going to be recorded. So if a guest so services like rentals, other upsell services are like, ooh, like additional parking or like transportation to airport, then we want to call like a specific workflow. So this workflow, I'm just gonna name it like notification. I'm lazy and I don't want to write everything. So what I actually want to do is click rewrite with AI. What this will do is it's going to load and it'll actually turn like those 2 sentences that I wrote and actually write out like properly the interface and actually like write out exactly what I want. So one, when a guest inquires about upsell services such as rentals, additional parking, transportation to the airport, I'm going to add or things of the like. And this allows the AI to be able to capture services or requests that are like kind of similar, but not exactly mentioned. Again, you can customize this procedure so that's tailored to like whatever property or whatever services like you offer. For instance, like if you don't have additional parking or if you don't have like, or if you do have kayak rentals. So kayak rentals, can customize this here. First, you want to confirm with the guest which specific service they're interested, provide any relevant details or options available for the service, and inform the guest that like staff will be notified. Staff be notified about their request. We're going to call the notification for upsell services workflow so that one, the guest like actually gets their services and so that your team knows so that you're not missing out on this potential revenue. So I want to remember that this is called notification for upsell services, create. And I'm going to go back to workflows and I'm going to call this workflow the exact same name that I referenced in the procedure. So notification for upsell services. Here, I want to start off with my trigger. For your trigger, if you're using a procedure, for instance, so if the workflow is in conjunction with the procedure, you want to use AI tool call and select the exact inbox that it's going to be used for. So for this was the guest inbox. So I'll just call it like upsell services. Here I'll write the instructions, notify the team via, I like using Slack, via Slack that a guest requested upsell services. I'm going to use AI extract AI info so that the AI has access to the exact information that's like associated to the contact. So to do that, I'm going to use contact context. Or this is already referenced. So I'm going to use contact context and the transcript, contact recent messages. I want to have a summary of the exact services that the guest wants sent via Slack. So I'm going to actually make a new variable for this. So summarize the additional services the guest wants to add from contact recent messages. So what this will do is this will read, the AI is going to read through like the past messages that it had like with the specific contact, create a summary and store it in the variable summary. Okay. Here, I'm going to write the actual variable again, because if you're making a new variable here, you want to make sure that you're actually creating it or else it's not going to be able to be used like later on in the workflow. So summary of past messages between guest and between the guest and the services they want. I'm going to make this one a string instead of a Boolean because it's like text. Then here, send Slack message. I can find the exact Slack message that I want this to be sent to. For instance, I usually like to send mine to workflow test. And then here, I'm going to actually use like all the variables that like Conduit can provide like out of the box, and also like the summary variable that I just made. So I would say like guest has a upsell request. Please reach out to confirm payment. Here, I would just do like contact, phone, summary. Here, I would do like reservation, first name. Actually, I would do reservation full name. Your phone, I would do contact. I need to find it. I would do reservation guest phone and then summary. So the summary is where I'm actually using the variable that I made right here. So I would click summary. And then sometimes it's even better to just actually link to the conversation between like the guest and the AI. So we have that variable as well. It's called contact inbox link, and this will link exactly to like that specific message between like the guest and Conduit, or between like the guest and like whatever they were asking, just in case. But we honestly don't need this because we have the summary, and the summary is like pretty good. I would click save. And this is ready to be published. So now if a guest asks about, I want to book a kayak or I want transportation to and from the airport, then we're able to, one, the AI is able to summarize that information, extract that, and then send a Slack message to like your specific team so that everyone's aware. You can also just like add like when the guest is like actually checking in. So you can do like their arrival date and time so that they can be aware. Okay, let me answer some questions. Okay. How do you integrate this workflow with charge automation? So right now, Conduit isn't able to accept like payment information or to send pricing from like your PMS system or for Airbnb. That's just because it's like sensitive information, and like that is, yeah, that's just private and like payment financial information. But what you can do instead is like what we did for this previous workflow. So notification for upsell services. Oh, wait, no. For the previous workflow, travel protection upsell, instead of actually accepting payment through the AI, we just sent them the URL where they can complete their purchase. So I would recommend doing that instead of um, wanting to have the AI actually charge. You'll just send the URL, and then the customer can take the steps to add this to their order. Okay, answer live. Okay. I want to see a workflow when a guest asks for early check-in in like 20 or 10 days before. Most of the time, I tell them they need to wait 24 hours before the arrival, see if there's any other reservations. See, then the AI will check the calendar, see if there isn't any other reservation, offer the early check-in. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Let me see if I can actually do this before with this template. So we already have a upsell workflow called pre-stay gap night upsell. I use this pretty often. So what this will do is 3 days before the check-in, we're going to detect if there's a gap night available for the room before. But what if I want to actually trigger this using an AI tool call? What I would do is I would just, again, make a procedure. Procedures are able to access tools that like the human can't. So I would just make a procedure. I'll actually just copy and paste what Rod Ross said, and we'll see what AI can write. So when a guest requests an early check-in, I'll do more than 24 hours before the arrival. Inform the guest that early check-in confirmations can only be determined 24 hours due to arrival or before the arrival due to potential existing reservations. Advise to contact them later. If it's within 24 hours of arrival, check the calendar to verify if there's no existing reservations causing conflict. If no conflict exists, then you can like offer the early check-in. And then I would actually just also create a workflow. So I want to create a workflow so that I'm notifying either like my team or like my maintenance staff, hey, this person like has an early checkout or early check-in. So call early check-in notification. I'm going to copy and paste this. So now what this is going to do is this procedure is going to first check to see when did this early check-in request actually was it made. If it's like 48 hours or like 10 days before, the AI is just going to say like, ask 24 hours before. If the request is made 24 hours before, we're going to first check to see if we're able to actually make the reservation. And then we're going to call this workflow. I'm going to create the workflow here. And then here I would just do like the same, like using like the same principles of if there's a procedure that's referencing that's referencing like a tool, I would do AI tool call, notify early check-in, selecting the inbox. Click save. And then here, you can either send it via SMS, you can either do email, SMS, WhatsApp, but this would be like WhatsApp for a specific person, or I often like to send it via Slack. So I do send Slack, find the channel. This one, I want to send this to like my 911 Slack channel that's saying early check-in request contact. Here, I'll put the reservation full name, like, and just like any information that I think would be useful. For instance, like their arrival date and time, or like the actual like list reservation ID, or see, I have their listing, like the actual listing that they're staying at. And this is going to send a Slack to the specific channel, like notifying like, hey, they have an early check-in request. Someone should like make sure that the room is ready for them. We also want to, okay, let's say we have, like going back to the procedure, let's say we are able to like check, see that there's no existing reservation. I actually want to go in and make another one. So like if a guest like requests this early check-in, I want to let them know like, okay, we accepted your request. So I'm going to add like a let the guest know we can accommodate their early check-in. Check-in will be at 10 a.m. Like your check-in will now be at 10 a.m. So what this does is we're first confirming like what time the person is actually making this early check-in request. We're going to check the calendar to verify there's no existing reservations. Conduit is connected to your calendar, so we're able to do this within your procedures. Then we don't need this. Then we want to let the guests know that we can accommodate their early check-in. Check-in's now at 10 a.m. And then we want to call this workflow. I'm going to rewrite this with AI one more time. Okay, that just corrects my spelling and makes this work. So this will essentially do everything that we want it to do. Instead of thinking of an AI as just being able to respond to messages, we're actually able to, one, respond to messages, and then call this workflow right here to actually send a Slack, email, or SMS to a specific person. And that's just using in conjunction your AI tool call to procedure right here. Okay. Any questions about how you can link procedures to workflows? Again, make sure that if you're referencing like a procedure or if you're referencing a workflow in a procedure, that the name is exactly right. This is how the AI is going to know exactly which workflow to call. Okay. Okay, so Rod Ross asks to confirm that will reply automatically to the guest. Yes, that will reply automatically to the guest. It's going to reply here because it's going to say, okay, when um it's going to reply here to just confirm like or actually to just let them know, hey, ask 24 hours before. Then it's going to say, okay, we can accommodate your reservation, and then it responds here. So yeah, this does reply to the guest. And this is actually better than like our current template. Um, yeah, the current template pre-stay captain upsell, because how this one is triggered is this is going to be like on a timer 3 days before check-in. But for using the procedure and the workflow, you're actually going to have like your AI agents interact and like call a workflow instead of just calling the workflow and not interacting. Okay, but for example, the reservation has been made 20 days ago, then need to wait until the arrival is 24 hours to confirm with the guest. Yes, so like right here. So let's say like I'm a guest. Let's say like I'm a guest and my reservation's like 30 days from now. If I ask if I ask the AI like, can I have an early check-in? It's gonna follow this case, which is it's gonna tell them, sorry, we can't do that. You need to ask 24 hours in advance and advise them to contact again like 24 hours within the intended check-in date. Okay. If I am done with the workflow and I want to have a picture backup of it, you recently implemented a feature to download a picture of the workflow, but the image quality is too bad. Unfortunately, on larger workflows, it's not possible to read anything. Will it be fixed? Okay, I'll bring this up to fix the image quality for saving workflows or saving like backups of it. What I personally do is, let's say like I'm building a workflow and I want to just capture it. What I'll do is I'll just like make a duplicate and then I'll do like version 1. And this is so that like each time that I'm like making a workflow, I have like the past versions. And this is actually better for me, like this, like what I use, because then I can actually go and see the exact configurations. Because I think in a photo, you can't really capture like what's on the inside. But yeah, I'll bring up that the quality of the workflow photos isn't good. Okay. Does the procedure send message automatically even if you're not on autopilot? You need to be on autopilot for the procedure to be sent. So let's say like you're on Copilot. How you know that you're on Copilot is you just go to chat agents right here, deploy Copilot. What will actually happen is the AI is going to read the procedure. Let me see. It's going to read the procedure and I'll send this as a proposed reply. You'll have to accept the proposed reply and then the rest of the workflow will run. But like in general, like these, I think that's why it's like so powerful to turn on autopilot, because when you unlock autopilot, then you can actually be able to use these like procedures that respond to guests and do the workflow. If you're on Copilot, you could run the workflow like just fine. Like on Copilot, this pre-stay gap night upsell workflow will work. But if you want to use like the better version and you want to use like the more powerful version, just turn on autopilot and then you'll be able to, yeah, just turn on autopilot and then you'll be able to like leverage the AI being able to respond and trigger the workflow. Okay, the guest needs to reply first 24 hours, then the AI will tell them they can enter or no if the AI starts the conversation 24 hours instead of the guest. I don't know what this question means. But this is just asking that, or this procedure is just asking like if the request is made within 24 hours, then we're going to check to see if it's available, like if we can do like if we can do this early check-in, then it'll respond to the guest. And this will all like be immediate. So because it's an AI, doesn't take breaks. If the guest asks like at 12 a.m. the night before, the AI will be able to provide all this information. And then because we have like this workflow, the maintenance team or whichever staff is like on call will be notified like in the morning, hey, so you have an early check-in request that was made like last night. Address it because they're going to be checking in like tomorrow or within 24 hours. Okay. Okay. Now that I think this is the end, I just want to go over some new announcements from Conduit. So first, we have a school community. This is our school community right here. What this does is you'll be able to get additional information or a bunch of new feature updates from Conduit. For instance, one, you can get access to our YouTube channel. We have all of our webinar recordings, tutorials, and Conduit University are all on our YouTube channel. We also just released a new course. So we have Become an AI Support Expert. Here we have a new Conduit University. This will go through like all the different ways that you can use Conduit and how you can use like each tab. So we have like our overview section, setting up Conduit, how to use the dashboard, inbox, and of course, if you're already like in the webinar, you're interested in workflows. So we also go in depth about workflows. So I recommend joining school. Let me actually just drop the link for joining school in chat. But we recommend joining school so that you're able to like have access to the classroom. You can also be involved in right in the community. And all of our webinars are also like added on here as well. Within a month, we're going to be moving our webinars to school exclusively. So I recommend just clicking the invite link in the webinar chat right now and then joining our school community. So I recommend doing that, especially if you want to get the webinar recordings because webinar recordings are added automatically to school and also to our YouTube channel. But with that, thank you so much for joining this webinar. I hope this was informative. Again, join our school community and yeah, again, join our school community and the workflows that I built out today, those will be available within like as a workflow template sometime like later next week or maybe on Friday so that you can be able to use these upsell workflows and like make more revenue for your business. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye, Rod. It's in the webinar chat for the link to school, but also just type it here. Okay. Yeah, I recommend joining school. Okay, thank you, everyone.